These are the top 3 mistakes that people make when they're training with positive reinforcement with their horses, featuring my very muddy horses. We've been dealing with a lot of rain. I just wanted to pop out and do a video, so here we are. So I'm going to talk about the 3 top mistakes that people make when they're training with positive reinforcement, specifically when they're training with food reinforcers. Number 1 is going to be using too high a value reinforcer, so too exciting of a food during training. A lot of times people want to use things like carrots or stud muffins or Mrs. Pasture's cookies. There's a lot of different ones. So even things like celery could be too high a value for some horses. We could also be using things like, I don't know, what are apples? They're grain, even like grain type foods, like processed feeds, concentrated feeds. These are too exciting to be using during training with horses. Instead, what I recommend is using a hay pellet of some kind, whether it's a Timothy, maybe an alfalfa, or there's a couple other types of hay pellets, whatever your horse is comfortable with and used to. You could also just use loose hay. So a hay that, like a chopped alfalfa Timothy mix might work, and just like a big side bag. These types of reinforcers are much lower value and are going to help set you and your horse up for success. The second biggest mistake that I see people make when they're training with positive reinforcement, also called clicker training, also called treat training, we don't call it that, but some people I've heard call it that, is going to be training a high energy behavior first and not training something like a default neutral first. So default neutral, we could also call it like a calm attentive, or it's just basically the horse is standing with you calmly and waiting for the reinforcer. And the way that I teach this behavior, and I teach it throughout all my courses and to all my clients, is I teach this behavior as a prerequisite. It's the very, very beginning behavior that we teach for all horses. And then also it's the prerequisite for all behaviors going forward. So they always start in the default behavior, and then we cue the other thing that we're looking for, whether it's just walking forward, leading, doing something fun like a Spanish walk, or smiley, whatever the behavior is, it doesn't really matter. It's that the default neutral comes first, and it's the most important behavior, and it's the behavior that all horses should be started with. Never start with a behavior like Spanish walk or smile, or I don't know, I've seen a lot of different behaviors that people have taught, and it usually comes back to bite them in the butt, to be honest. So try not to teach one of those first, and instead focus on something like a default neutral first. The third biggest mistake that I see people make is withholding reinforcers. So not reinforcing often enough, and instead waiting too long to click and feed. Something that we need to be mindful of doing, because it can create a lot of frustration, and it can actually end up harming the training and making it so it's less effective, and that our horses are more frustrated and they're just not having a good experience. We're not actually making it a very positive or pleasant experience for them or for us. Instead, we need to break down our criteria more, so lower the ask, lower what we're looking for, lower that degree of difficulty, and be clicking and reinforcing more often. You should never be going more than a couple of seconds in the beginning between clicks and reinforcers. So try not to wait too long before that reinforcer is earned. And this is something that will carry over into the rest of your training. You can build up your behaviors so that they will be longer duration. You'll be able to do more behaviors before the click and reinforcer happens. But especially in the beginning, people wait too long, just not being forthcoming with those reinforcers and getting too greedy with what they're asking for before they will give the reinforcer, and therefore causing a lot of frustration with their horses. So if you're one of those people, like myself when I first started off, that find yourself making these top 3 mistakes, because I made all 3 of these mistakes. I used too high of a value reinforcer. I did not teach a calm default behavior or a default neutral behavior first. And I also withheld way too much. I caused a lot of frustration in my horses. So if you're like me when I first started off, and you're finding that you're having trouble training with food reinforcers, training with positive reinforcement, training with clicker training, whatever you want to call it, I have developed a online curriculum and with coaching and a community and support that can help guide you through successfully introducing or repairing your training with positive reinforcement with clicker training, and can help you work through all of these and find effective and practical solutions for all of these problems. So if you're interested in that, just check out the information below and I would love to help you out.